Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 3, Episode 13, Canaries. The episode was rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for everything Arrowverse leading up to and including this episode, not for anything Arrowverse that came out after this episode first premiered. Another episode that I absolutely loved, and we are real quick gonna do... So these video recommendations that I'm about to deliver are not necessarily going to be TV-14, but the rest of the video will be. Some more news: the Golden Grift, Trump statue, the gold phone scam, and more. Just Gender After Dark, the capitalist realism of Dispatch. Brigitte Empire, how ContraPoints turned on the left. Alice Capel, the truth behind The Devil Wears Prada. And Lynn Saga, you can't be non-binary if you're a man. No if. And possibly a but. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal episode. Yeah, gonna try to keep this chronological. So, the the opening, super cool. 2 canaries for the price of 1. You realize this means you could secure 2 coal mines at the same time, or just once if you're a belts and suspenders kind of person. But yeah, I will never turn down seeing Sarah. Fantastic. And yeah, obviously we know from right away that there's something else going on. We watched her die without any satisfaction, I might add. So this can't literally be Sarah. At first I wondered if this was like a PTSD nightmare or something, but then it said 48 hours earlier, so that also couldn't be. But yeah, fantastic. We've never seen her this intense with Laurel, so that was, yeah, very, very dramatic. And yeah, it's also just, they seeing, Laurel, she is perhaps at this point at least still more enthusiastic than flawless in her combat, whereas Sarah, yeah, not a lot of, not very flawful in her victories. And let's see, once we realize, once we see the 48 hours earlier, it does of course leave fairly few options, and I appreciate that they do very soon after confirm one of the most, straightforward ways to get this concept, which I'm sure, like, I can imagine it lit a fire under people's asses when this was like, I would be shocked if clips of the fight were not in like TV spots and such, Yeah, as soon as we hear, oh, Vertigo is back, like, okay, that's what it's got to be. And let's see, I think the very next thing is so Laurel does their job apparently, and yeah, they reiterate that Oliver still does not want her out there, and she points out that she never said that she was going to stop just because he said that that's what he wanted. And now that it's already been, the pre 48 hours bit set up, that she's feeling like, some part of her is, lizard brain most likely screaming in her ear, why are you trying to replace Sarah? What are you doing? And another thing is this thing of, how, what is this going to do to Quentin? And Oliver is the one to bring that up. So yeah, I think the next thing was the I think around here is when we get the first of the flashbacks, and yeah, very this thing of we find out later that he did not tell Oliver the truth about where. So that does mean that the rest of the family is safe. Tatsu and Akio. But yeah, really appreciate seeing them actually follow. I mean, I knew they would, but still, it's very compelling to see the follow up to, after the what's the word? The thing about the it's right on the tip of my tongue. Betraying Waller. And I think that does lead us to the so as he's being released, Stormar, I suppose, doesn't go full mega, but close enough that it's very, and by the end of the episode, he certainly has gotten closer to that. And that is, I'm not going to pretend like it's the only great Peter Stormare performance type, but it is a very, very entertaining one. And, the journalist doses the guard. It's a little bit too bad that, clearly they used CG for the, it would have been great if they had, practical masks, even if there wasn't a lot of movement to them, and, they morphed into those, in the shot. But they were really, really cool designs, especially of the red one. Just, fantastic. And yeah, I'm trying not to read a gun control message into everything I watch. I don't know. It felt a little bit like, I'm just saying, that situation would have been less dangerous if this guy hadn't had a gun. And let's see, and she, sucker punches him, which Quentin later says half the cops are still talking about. And I guess that does pretty much bring us to so Oliver goes back to the Arrow Cave, and Felicity, once again, best line in the episode. You have a visitor. Your new BFF, as I call him. She's not gonna let that one go. She is not. If they do have her forgive Malcolm, it's gonna take a huge, I don't even know if it's possible for her to, and she's right. He's absolutely what he did at the end of season 1. Anyway, the thing about, we're gonna have to bring Thea into this, which, the show doesn't really, they already have so much compelling, emotional stuff going on with Laurel, but there's also going to be this, and it is, that I think it's an Onion headline, something along the lines of tragedy strikes as person realizes someone they hate a lot is right about something. I mean, I don't know how else they're gonna have a chance against, Ra's al Ghul's people. It's and the League of Assassins, they're not ones to be taken lightly. Although I suppose as long as they're led by someone named Al Ghul. We could also refer to them as Ghoulies. And yeah, fantastic job on. I loved everything in this episode that had to do with Thea now knowing, and the way that they build it up. Taking you somewhere to the basement. She said it was flooded. I lied. Okay, Thea, good news, bad news. Bad news is, yeah, your brother lied to you again. The good news is the flooded basement, the least of his lies. But yeah, and she says, so every single night that you made up some ridiculous excuse. We think that the next few words are going to be, this is what you were hiding from me. I told you never to lie to me. I thought we trusted each other. But instead she says, you were out saving someone's life, which, like, yeah. I mean, that's very glass half full. Wonderful. That's what the glass is full of. Wonder. And half full of. And yeah, I mean, she is a very different person now. When she was enraged about being lied to about their father, his father, I suppose I should say, that was before she spent some more time with Malcolm. And I really do love that in this episode. I mean, it's actually Malcolm takes the brunt of, or I guess the entire thing, really. She's angry at him. He's the one she no longer trusts, not Oliver. And let's see. Yeah, later she talks to Roy, and she's like, so how do you choose which hoodie to wear, that one or the one with the mask? And later, can I borrow him? Well, I guess he's been more yours than mine lately. Just, yeah, fantastic. And that is, I do really love that they are, like, that feels, the kind of, the wit there feels like pre-Malcolm Thea, And, let's see. Yeah, I think that does bring us to the... Is that when... I think that is when, yeah, so Laurel, goes out, and we have the thing about, like, there's a tracker. We don't have a tracker. We don't have a tracker, do we, Oliver? And, he's like, well, I put one on Laurel. And, yeah. They get there just in time, thankfully. And, yeah, really, really deeply engaging when we're witnessing this fight. And the yeah, I mean, he had her at his mercy, but then thankfully the arrows show up. And oh, I think I actually also missed, wasn't there also the part where, yeah, we have the part where so yeah, she comes in and says, oh, I know who dosed that guy, you know, and Felicity confirms it, which I guess technically means that she already realized. So, I don't know, when Laurel says, I just gave you your only lead, I feel like it would have been fair for Oliver to respond, no, you didn't. I really am trying to not just fill all these videos with references to the first two X-Men movies, but I watched them recently. I love the dialogue in those movies. Moving on. The, let's see. I think that does bring us to the, yeah. And so, they bring her back. Right. Also, yeah, the part where Oliver confronts her and says, this is just the addiction again, and yeah, that is, unfortunately, there's a lot of truth to that. And I do really love these stories where they explore that addiction. There's so many people who think if you're not doing drugs, then you're not really addicted. And addiction can take many forms. I just finished my rewatch of the 3 seasons of Jessica Jones. First, not last rewatch, and that show also does a really great job. In case you're looking for something else to watch, that also does a great job with that theme. But yeah, they get her back, and she sees Sarah and Felicity, and Oliver has to render her unconscious. Good thing he has a shot for. He has a plan for that, and yeah, Thea. See, Oliver, the thing is, when you tell someone that you have a secret lair and where it is, you're gonna have to expect that every so often they're gonna take a peek inside. That's I'm not speaking from personal experience, but yeah. And I'm sorry, I am with Roy. Oliver, do not speak to your sister like that. Like, it was one thing when you were talking to it was already wrong when he was talking to the team like that, but your own sister, come on, man. And yeah, really appreciated Roy staying up for her, and understandably Diggle is like, let's decrease the throttle here. And Felicity, probably my favorite part of the episode, pointing out, I'm not gonna redo the entire, but just fantastic, and the acting also incredible. Yeah, they found a way, to make it work without him. They can't go back to exactly the way things were. And let's see, I think the next thing might be, yeah, I forget if I think it's somewhere around here. I might have accidentally skipped that part, but the bit where she tells Austin Butler that he doesn't have a game. That, I don't know, maybe that played different back then, but after, in a post Austin Butler's Elvis in Elvis with Austin Butler as Elvis world, yeah, that sounds just preposterous. And I do really love him still calling her princess, especially considering her last name is Queen. And let's see. I guess that does bring us to the Yeah, I really like when so yeah, Oliver and Thea talking. Right, yeah. Wow, there's so much in this episode. Okay, I'm trying to get to everything. Obviously, it's no longer quite in order, but we have the bit where they find the reporter, and yeah, Zertle, yeah, good plan. He knows that they're gonna come for that reporter, and so yeah, if that guy has a bomb, that's gonna make it much more difficult because Arrow likes to get close. That's part of the intimidation. So yeah, very, very nicely done. And yeah, the thing about, like, well, it's the only way for him to keep his wife safe. And they do manage to get out of there safely. And if only they knew how close Zerter was. Like, he can actually see the explosion. And that was also so freaking cool, seeing them jump out a window and then fireball explosion chasing them. Yeah, incredible. And yeah, but talking with Diaz, like, you always had the worst excuses. Well, occupational hazard. What was the hazard tonight? Fantastic line. And yeah, um, the thing with, I smell smoke. Is it what was it, Mongolian barbecue? C4. And also another of my favorites was how many times have I wanted to thank you, for, yeah. And he's like, well, probably as many times as I've wished we could have this conversation. And she's like, I mean, you did destroy my window, but I did kick your ass. And he's like, no, you didn't. Yeah, they're siblings, and he's the eldest, that's for sure. And the male one, that is very much, yeah, that kind of energy. And let's see, I think that brings us to the, yeah. And the thing about, that's when she realizes that Malcolm knew. And yeah, I guess that does. I think the next bit might actually be when Chase is. That's also, wow. That is comic book goodness right there. So we find out that they were. Oh, right. Did I already mention? I really appreciated the bit where there's a text. I forget, was it Diggle or Felicity or Roy, but Oliver gets a text that says, Walker's wife is safe. If you'd only had gotten that text just a little bit earlier, showed it to the journalist. Hindsight 2020, I guess. But yeah. So Chase, off screen, got a tour of the place, saw the most important parts, and it went over well. And now he's serving red wine, and then Malcolm told me red wine, the scent covers just, yeah, fantastic. And I kind of love both that she doesn't even like say, are you hiding something? She just grabs a knife and like goes for it. And she is also right, and that was such a cool fight. And yeah, incredibly, what a relief when I was not sure if she was going to make it out of this, and certainly not how. And then, yeah. Let's see. I think first it's Roy who shows up, and then, Malcolm with his arrows. And the thing about, if you beg, or what was it? If you apologize or beg forgiveness, I'll grant you a quick, that was, yeah. And, Chase is like, I know exactly who you are, and I'm not giving you that satisfaction. I'm going to do what I'll go where you can't follow me. And yeah. I mean, listen, he had the cyanide. Is he just going to let it go to waste? And I think that I loved that Roy, as soon as Oliver shows up and says, hey, can we have a little bit of time together? Roy doesn't argue at all. But he didn't leave before because he's not leaving Thea alone with Malcolm. And I guess that does bring us to the the conversation there was also great. And this thing of like, well, the only, I need the two of you to train. And we find out at the end, back to purgatory. And Oliver says, I called it home, but others call it purgatory. And I think that might just about, let's see, there's a bit more flashback. So I already talked about how he lied, and there's some more torture. Again, appreciate that it is the, I mean, not always, not exclusively villains, but certainly they're, yeah, they're not exactly like the most, let's see. I think paladin is, they're not exactly paladins. Let's put it in that terminology. And yeah, the thing about it, well, you gotta make, you gotta do a press conference. So now that is part of, we know that is part of why he made sure that it was so public that he returned in, the way back in the pilot episode. Because at the end of the day, like hypothetically, he could have just come back as Arrow. And yeah. Anyway, I think that might pretty much bring us to this. Yeah, so they find Zertle. And yeah, once again, really, really awesome. One of the guys like runs towards, well, one of the Zertle's guys runs towards Oliver as he's seeing him zipline down. I don't know. I feel like if you're running towards him at that point, you deserve that. And the part where he's like, okay, thanks for letting me borrow the lab, but I do not tolerate mistakes, as you can clearly see. Holy crap. And yeah, he manages yeah, I think isn't that when he starts yeah, he cannot at this point. I'm sorry, Zertle, next karaoke night you cannot sing "We Didn't Start the Fire" because it would be a lie. And yeah, Laurel, once again, like, she's not making the best case for her being out there because she does get hit again. Did also really love, so after she's okay, and also the part with, Thea says, I just want to know that Laurel's okay, And yeah, the part where Felicity talking to Laurel. And, once again, as some other times, for a little bit, it sounds like, is she going to say something really mean? The thing with, yeah, you're wrong. But then, points out about there was no light in Sarah, and she does see one in Laurel. And yeah, I would have to agree, and it is very understandable, of course. And yeah, so we have a rematch, and loved that this time she manages to resist so much that it is no longer, well, actually, yeah, she starts to defeat Sarah in the, but then Sarah turns into Quentin, which that is, we have not seen him this intense since he was still obsessed with Arrow, when he was against Arrow. And just like truly, what a gut punch. The performance, the dialogue, and yeah, and especially the way that the dialogue frames it. How could you do this? Who do you think you are, running around leaving scars? I have a right to mourn, to grieve. You didn't tell me because you think I'm too weak, and that's like, obviously it's not that she thinks he's weak. She's worried about his health. It's not quite the same thing, but once again, her inner demons. And I think that does, yeah, ultimately they are able to stop him, and I guess that does, let's see, the I feel like there's at least one more thing that I wanted to make sure. Right. Oh, when she actually, yeah. So she goes to, or actually, yeah, I guess she's at her office. He's the one visiting, and she quickly clicks away. Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I gotta think. There's two scenes here that I guess I'll talk about both of them in quick succession. But yeah, first we have, when she's looking for Zertle and not telling him, and the thing about and Quentin refers to Sin as the girl with the boy hair, which does feel like something he would say. And, I really appreciate that's a line where they could have gotten really, like, unpleasant and, like, transphobic, but, yeah, they get across that Quentin is a little too old-fashioned for a woman with hair like that. but also he's, not using an actual slur or saying she's just confused or something. And yeah, thing and when he says, I just want to talk to her. Yeah, and then later, so yeah, she says, I have to tell you something. And he's like, yeah, you're the new Canary. I mean, I knew that. Who else was it gonna be? So, Quentin, good news is you're about to. That's not the worst thing she lied about. But yeah, genuinely really powerful when because he immediately realizes, as soon as she says the thing that's not what I wanted to tell you. There's something about Sarah. What else is it gonna be? And I think that does pretty much. Yeah, very interesting that the flashback, they're going back to Starling City. So, yeah, Oliver was in Starling City before the 5 years were up. So that is very interesting. And I mean, they can make it work. Really, the only thing is, obviously, he cannot make direct contact with it. Like, if someone from his life there finds out he's there, then that screws with the continuity. But I don't think as far as I can recall, there's nothing that really contradicts this. Like, I wouldn't rule out that. I mean, I think, yeah, he's probably he has said, that he wasn't. I mean, he said he was on that island for 5 years. That's just an easy way to get out. He doesn't want to be talking about all these other things, but obviously he has to talk about the island at least some. And for a while, he didn't even give very many details about that because that's where he was found. And I think, but yeah, I think they're doing a really, really great job of, let's see, I guess it's been half a season so of him in China on the mainland instead of on the island, on the Purgatory Island off the. Yeah, that was a. Yeah, I think they're doing a really good job keeping up this. They gotta mix it up a little bit because like I still don't know if they're gonna do anything past the 5 because like with the months that happen between when one season ends and the next begins. So far, pretty much a season is a year, all in all. So I guess maybe at the start of season 6, because I know there's more than 6. I believe there's 8 seasons total, something like that. I don't know if they're gonna have something else to replace or what exactly, but I'm guessing they're at least gonna, by the end of this season, there will still be 2 more seasons, maybe, of flashbacks. It's a good idea to keep, yeah, keep it right. And I do appreciate that they explained why, because as soon as I saw the call, I was like, well, I don't know how Moira was surprised then, but yeah, of course, yeah. And I think that does right. And I'm looking forward to seeing them fight China White in Zhen Na Wen in Starling City in flashback form. She's back in flashback form, and I think that does. I feel like there's at least one more thing I really want to make sure to say. Yeah, the thing about, in order to defeat Ra's al Ghul, they're going to have to conquer their fears. That's going to be really compelling. I can hardly wait to see that. And yeah, Purgatory Island is a good place for that, for sure. And yeah, I loved that when Felicity confronts him, he does not say, how dare you? He says, just let me know if her condition changes, and when Dig shows up, he makes a crack line, Dig's like, can I sit here? And Oliver's like, the Yanks say it's a free country, he's gradually accepting it. And then by the end of the episode, he's saying, you know what? I trust you to protect this city, including you, Laurel. And her reaction was just so good. Just she really appreciates that level of trust and vote of confidence. And yeah, great way to wrap up the various, the things going on in the episode. I mean, early in the episode, I was not sure if Ollie would ever trust Laurel, or that Thea would at all be okay with finding out Oliver. It was like, as soon as Malcolm said it, I did feel like, yeah, Oliver's going to tell him, and it is this thing of like, yeah, what else are you gonna do? And it's great. Sue me, lock me up, throw away the key. I do love this like soap opera melodrama of, so he's been keeping the secret to protect her, but now because there are assassins after both of them, he has to tell her, even though he knows he might lose her forever. Just I really, really dig this stuff. And that's also, that's reiterated, I think, by Dig. But yeah, by the end of the episode, they're, on the island together. And I think... Now, they say it's only going to be for a few days, so I guess it's possible that at some point in the very next episode, they will return, because there's like a week between a lot of these episodes at least. But yeah. I think... Right, and I appreciate that we see the wreck of the... I can never recall if it's boat or ship, but yeah, one of them. And yeah, I think that does pretty much cover everything. Yeah, I do understand why, there's the line about, this whole thing of the vigilantism. I understand why there's the bit about, selfish. I don't know if I agree. I think you're thinking of a fishmonger.